Hello,
a warm welcome to the next panel discussion of the MHP Festival. I welcome you to the panel talk titled MobilityOS, who will build the operating system of mobility. It's a very important topic, 40 minutes, so let's get started right away. My name is Burkhard Hering. I am chief editor of the Automobilwoche, and I will introduce the panelists to you. Karina Schönauer, head of strategy of Cariad, a software house of Volkswagen. Michael Niedbal, head of Smart Cities, DB Station and Services. Torsten Golewski, executive vice president, autonomous driving of the supplier ZF from the Lake of Constance. Karl Thomas Neumann, investor and industry expert. He is here, very famous as former CEO of Conti and Opel. And Markus Willand is partner of Mobility MHP. Now, you are allowed to ask questions out there via the platform. I am looking forward to your questions. I will then read them to you. So before we start with this difficult topic in detail, we will have a warm-up question for all panelists. The same to everybody. 1.5 years of Corona pandemic. What have you learned in terms of mobility during these 1.5 years? Ms. Niedbal. Absolutely. I have learned a lot. For example, there are times without mobility, and you have to learn to change your behavior when it comes to mobility, sometimes overnight. That's a very strong learning, especially with regards to climate protection. Ms. Schönauer, what's your learning from the last 1.5 years? Well, first I have to apologize for my voice. I hope you can still hear me well. So my learning is very similar. People that I work with, they were able to adapt quite quickly and to refrain from mobility. So basically it's possible. But I have to say, now with everybody loosening, everybody wants their mobility back to some extent. And this should happen ASAP, so we may develop back into the situation that we had, or the status that we had before the pandemic. This is something we can observe quite well. Your voice is wonderful. We understand you well. What's your learning, Mr. Golewski? Well, a lot of time that we could save because business trips were not possible. Also, autonomous driving in the logistics area, we were able to take a closer look into this area because there are great challenges ahead. Home delivery. And I'm also wondering, here, Ms. Niedbal, Ms. Schönauer and I, we are not on the panel, we are all from Germany. I think we also have guests from the US, and it's still we are here able to hear each other and to talk about this topic, and I think this shows how new solutions can be ahead. 2 remote, or 3 remote, 2 in the studio. Mr. Neumann, so your learning is not that you came here from California for 40 minutes. No, I'm not in California, I'm not living there. I have been back for 1 year, and I'm surprised how empty the Autobahn is. But I feel the same way. I'm happy to be able to move again. I told my wife all week how excited I am about my first business trip again. So, of course, working from home works quite well, but nevertheless, I miss the personal contact. So I think there will be a different mobility, and this is why we need to talk about this topic. Mr. Willand, changes during the last 1.5 years, what's your learning? The bike has ranks now higher, not for every distance, of course, but I'm delighted to be here today. Many colleagues and we are back for quite some time, and mobility is very important. We need to talk about this, and of course we missed this interaction. So let's get started. So Ms. Schönauer, who will build the operating system of mobility? Now, you have the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to answer this question. So you as car makers or suppliers, they are working with the tech companies work with this. Startups will be part of this. What's your assessment? Of course, this is a relevant topic for the future. And we at Volkswagen, we take this very seriously. We have founded a carrier to bundle our competence, our skills, in order to stay ahead of competition. The topic of an operating system is one of our key products of the future in order to stand out from competition and to provide a scalable and a unitary system. That's something we aim at for the future. So I think there will be new players in the future, especially with regards to mobility. If we look into the past, we can see this now. But I think this competition is still going on, and we don't have a winner yet. I think Mr. Golewski agrees. You say we are spurring innovations as supplier. What's your role in this as supplier, Mr. Golewski? Of course, we have our systems, and we enable many foundations. We pave the way for mobility in the future. So this is how we have to design our future. Mobility will change. It will be based on emission, with zero emission, or urban mobility. These aspects need to be designed. So it's not part of the solution to have ever more cars. We need to redesign the types of mobility in the future. For example, additive. Autonomous driving is one vital aspect in this. I think in the years to come we will see a lot of change, and we will see what clients will accept, because they are deciding in the end. So, Mr. Neumann, you have gathered a lot of experience in the US. So we do a lot in this regard, but we see in California there are so many tech companies. They have a market power which is gigantic. With a market capitalization, they can conduct they can make so many investments. Tesla, Apple, Waymo, Google. Can we actually be part of this competition? Can we even compete? I have to say we must compete, because the operating system, that's on one hand the operating system in a car, a client in a mobility world, and only if the operating system of the car is functioning will grant access to people grant access to mobility. Mr. Wieland mentioned this earlier. So mobility as a service needs to be provided. How does the city work? How do rooms and spaces work? How do I get to certain spaces? Both are of key relevance for the future.
Und da ist natürlich jetzt so, dass wir da schon in einen gehörigen Nachteil kommen.
So of course we have a huge disadvantage to some extent, because we talk about electric drives, electric vehicles, and now we need to invest billions into software and into mobility services. And here it's all about platforms. It's about being able to take millions of people onto this platform. Uber showed us this, just like Amazon or Apple. Those are investments. Maybe they even make losses for 20 or 30 years. And I think it will not be possible for traditional car makers and suppliers to compete in this regard. But they shouldn't give up. They should go and create partnerships with companies and try to compete. Cooperation, yes. Mr. Hartmann, you as a consultant, is it priority 1 to have an operating system, or to enter the market with one, or to go into corporations? I think the corporate aspect needs to be at the very forefront. The past has shown us this. It showed us how we competed against other players in the market behavior. It's not worth it. So platform concepts that gathers many users, they work quite well if they are thought in a horizontal way and not complementary. That's a great advantage only in regards to business portfolio. We need to be open-minded. We need to enter corporations, because in the end, it's not about producing a car, but also to get into touch and to stay connected with the client through a digital channel. So cooperation is key. Mr. Golewski talked about urban mobility. Now, with the ICE, you don't want to only reach cities in Germany. You want to establish car sharing, bike sharing. So what are your targets in this regard for the years to come with mobility services? I'd love to. We have a very good operating system that millions of people are already using. It's the app DB Navigator. It helps people organize journeys, to book tickets. Mobility as a service is already covered by this. But we know this, we mustn't be complacent. There are many private mobility service providers. So for this reason, we are liaising with MobiliO, that just recently have acquired Movil with a white label approach. By this, we want to enter the day-to-day mobility in urban places. We mentioned this earlier. It's not only on a proprietary basis to create an island, but to learn what customers need on-site. That's our overall target. We want to cover far-distant trips, but also provide solutions for shorter distances and to unify them, to unify mobility aspects that are yet to be created. That's our white label approach, and we want to boost this development, of course. And I'm very confident that there will not be one large system answering a question, who will win this huge competition? Because that's also good for the customer if they have a choice. What system do they want to use and book their tickets? I think that's something we need to bear in mind. It's not about who will win this competition. Will it be Google, for example? I think we can create solutions here in Germany and in Europe. That's very exciting. Now, if I got this right, you want to create a mobility platform with as many people as possible. So what is the current status quo? Now, the DB Navigator is a product where you say, in 3 years you can cover everything, or do you have other products that you could connect it with? Now, the Navigator, so we don't have to talk about mobility platforms. In theory, they are already in existence. They have been for 10 years. Of course, where mobility develops, we need to stay ready. With MobiliO in Berlin and in Stuttgart, we are already present. And of course, the Navigator will develop. I can promise you that. Mr. Golewski, I think you're also creating a shuttle for urban mobility, People Mover. Is that correct? Now, yes, the shuttle is part of an autonomous transportation system. And there's an autonomous system, an infrastructure where the shuttle must operate, and it's all about public transport and to redesign it, to make it more flexible. The mobility size is, for example, different. And of course, this needs to be economically viable.
Und damit können wir auch kürzere Taktzeiten.
And this will help us to have a larger customer satisfaction and to reach higher cycle times.
Okay, wer sind da die ersten Kunden?
So what are the first clients of yours? It's not public transportation, it's more in the logistics area, maybe from one plant to the other. So can you tell us how these things will unfold? Now it's TransDev, it's one of the largest logistics operators that operate these shuttles. There's a certain area in Rotterdam with a connection to a train, so we have people being transported without a security driver in enclosed places. They can even avoid traffic jams, but that's a very special operation. And these are the first aspects that help us to learn, to gather experience for the future. So imagine this will skyrocket, and you as a car maker, what are the clients of ZF saying in the future if they enter the competition? We don't address this. We will address not the end client, the person who buys the client, but maybe we will rather boost an autonomous driving shuttle. It's not compared to a personal driving vehicle. So it's a new type of mobility, and these are our aspects that we need to deal with in the future. You take a look at what happened in Silicon Valley. Will Amazon and work with Zoox? They have a robo-taxi, and we need to look at developments and deal with them. If I may say something on that, of course we have different target groups. And if I have a closer look on our target group, we talk about private mobility. Now, what is that all about? It's about having a person with a vehicle that is being driven by themselves. And maybe we can combine these aspects. If there is, for example, a traffic jam, then they can just lean back and the autonomous driving is working. During these times, the people can be more productive. They can also spend time with their family. So these are different scenarios that we talk about. Our focus is to design the car of the future for the everyday person. So what we need to consider, there are different target groups. So I don't think we are in a great competition here. I have another question, Ms. Niedbar. Public and private, don't they need to join hands? Doesn't Volkswagen need to create a joint platform, or maybe with all other car makers? Is that even possible? I don't want to exclude that idea. I think the best offer will win with the clients, and we need to focus on that. So what's the need of mobility? So if everybody enters a traffic jam, then we're not solving anything for our clients. So the cars needed to know where a traffic jam will come up in 20 minutes, and a part of those cars will be diverted then. Maybe also make people take the train. This is the way to think in the future. And I think this will work, and this is a development that we may expect. It's not a singular mode, one person, one car. We need to say goodbye to this idea. So people need to use public transportation, these individual transportation with UP, with our subsidiary. We learn a lot with these projects, how mobility works and how such an addition to public transportation can work in the future. And this is where alternatives to privately owned cars emerge. So this is where the truth is, somewhere in the middle. So, Mr. Neumann, for years we have talked about these new trends and we reported on them, and we said, yeah, we are about to start. So soon we will be delivering on this.
Ist es so wenig sichtbar noch, meine ich? Liegt es an mir, weil ich in Deutschland lebe?
I don't see this really. So I live in Bavaria, and I really don't see it for myself. Or is it about the case? That's the best buzzword. 2050.
Muss es dann bald mal losgehen?
15.
Oder
Do we have to start soon, or where are we?
Wir reden seit
Yeah, well, we have been talking about this case for 10 to 15 years. And E stood for electrification. There is Volkswagen, thank God. So we can tick that off. So there is one car manufacturer in Europe saying this is the way to go. And I'm sure they will be successful. Then it's about communication. And communication has a lot to do with cloud solutions, cloud connectivity. I see that we're not so strong there. Then shared, I don't see that at all. We are right at the beginning compared to Uber, where, well, they are far developed and there will only be one winner, not 5 or 10. There will be one winner. Maybe it differs per continent, but that's it. And you have to drive the car. When we take a look at where we are in the world, where are the top 5 companies, you would believe that they have a bigger margin in autonomous driving. There's Waymo, of course, and maybe the Chinese companies, but in Europe there's nothing. And I think that we, well, are more or less successful in one of these 4 letters, but the other 3s, well, we are not in a good position. And I say Volkswagen is a good example, not because I work there and because you are here, no, but because they realize that this is important. But it will be difficult that in the traditional OEM business we do everything on our own, proprietary, everything vertically integrated. No, we need technology partners, and I like this approach. Deutsche Bahn together with the OEMs, maybe they could collaborate. Some companies must, well, be set up, and then we say this is a player who can build the platform. And actually, I don't think that any of the current actors are capable of doing that. That's interesting that with these 4 letters, case, the hardware part, the hardware letter, the E, the electrification, that we are doing quite well in that. But with the 3 digital letters, Mr. Wieland, what do you think about that? I can absolutely support what Mr. Neumann just said. The risk that we see here is the platform like Didi and Uber, well, they're there. They have 400 million users. They have a market power. And we see more than 10% of the users in China. So it's essential. For Europe, it doesn't play a role. But when we look back and take a look at the challenges of mobility, we say mobility is a convenience product. I want to be mobile. I want that my dreams come true. Let's see what the challenges will be in 10 years. The demand for mobility, this is the question. How much do I have to transport? We have a limited space in the cities, and also the emission situation in the cities will be worse. We have more restrictions, so we need to combine different mobility offers. That does not mean that the motorized individual traffic will go away, or that we will demonize that. No. There will be a part that is still individual traffic, but we need to connect everything. Mobility needs to be easily accessible. We need only one digital channel. We've just talked about that. If I want to be mobile in Berlin, I can download 40 or 50 apps. I have to log in 40 or 50 times, enter my personal data. I mean, that cannot be in the interest of people or the cities. So I think we have to do something about that and create sustainable solutions in order to be resilient when we look at Uber and Didi, because they can do all that. Can I add something to that with regard to sharing? Because this is really dear to me. We have to have a different approach to that. Not every sharing system creates problems. When we understand sharing in a way that they are used in the city in parallel to all offers that exist, then this is not a good offer. When we take a look at the sharing offers, then they focus all on inner cities. Economically, this makes sense, but the decisive thing will be where and which outer districts of all the mega cities, where is it used, because this is exactly where it makes a difference. My vision is, and this is of course understandable, my vision is not that all our sharing service providers go to the inner cities and they just focus on some square meters in the inner cities and they just increase the traffic on the roads. Then when we talk about sustainable mobility, well, this is of no use.
Wenn wir gerade ein bisschen über Innovations
Well, when talking about innovation speed or the lack of innovation speed,
Startups aufkaufen, die wirklich toll
of
sind
course the
und mehr bauen.
Bahn company could buy startups, etc. And
Sie werden schlagkräftiger.
do you wish that there were more innovations and that you had more power? Is the market too empty? Well, there are many solutions. The question is how we can bring all the solutions together and at which point we do that and how we can test that and ramp that up. So all the buzzwords here, sharing, on demand, public transport, and also private individualized traffic. If we bring all that together in an intelligent way, that we get offers where there is not enough offer, and the longer distances can be covered by rail, then we really make a difference, and then we create sustainable mobility. If it's only about, kind of defending what we have and saying this is our target picture, then we have not achieved anything. Then I would rather interpret case in a different way. So in 2 to 3 years, we should meet again and take a look at the results.
Schönauer, vielleicht,
Schönauer.
Cariad ja auch ziemlich neu
Cariad
ist. Vielleicht können wir noch
is
mal
quite new.
grundsätzlicher
So
darauf eingehen, was
maybe
Cariad macht, damit wir das
you
für
can
ein für
tell
alle
us
Mal
in general what
verstehen
Cariad is doing so that we all
Cariad steht für
understand.
Car,
Cariad
Digital, das ist eine
stands for
Abkürzung.
Car, I and
Und Ihre
Digital.
Prio 1, ist es das
It's an acronym.
Oder sehen
So
Sie
is
viele
it the operating
Zwischenschritte
system?
jetzt beim autonomen Fahren?
Or do you see
Ist
intermediate
Level
steps
5
for
Ihr
autonomous
Ziel?
driving?
Das
Is
würde,
level
wenn Sie das ein
5
bisschen
your
beschreiben
objective? Could you describe that?
Ja, also
Yes, of course.
zunächst ist natürlich diese Gründung vor allen Dingen auch
First of all,
die
we
Kompetenzen
established
zu
this
bündeln.
company
Es
to
sind
bundle the
verschiedene Marken im
competencies.
Konzern.
There are different brands in the
Wir
the
haben
company,
die Möglichkeit, wirklich schlagkräftiger
and
zu werden.
we can be more powerful
Ziel
here.
ist
One of
ganz
our
klar
main
das
targets, of course, is
OS-Betriebssystem,
the
dass
OS,
wir dort eben
the
einen
operating
Software-Stack
system,
haben
that we
und
have a software
eben,
stake.
wie auch schon eben in der Diskussion
To,
angeklungen
that is what we've heard in the
das
discussion,
Verkehrsschlüsselkriterium zu haben.
to have that as a key
Themen wie
criterion.
autonomes Fahren gehören da auch
Topics like autonomous driving are, of course,
weil wir
also
sagen,
included in
wir
the
sehen
portfolio
eben
because
die Private
we
Mobility
see that
für uns
the
als
private
Ziel
mobility
und auch Zielmarkt.
is our target, and this is also our target market. These are our
dort
customers.
natürlich entsprechend eben diese Mobilitätserlebnisse in der Zukunft dann
We
auch
want
ermöglichen
to
und
enable
dieses,
these
assistierte
mobility
Fahren an der Stelle auch umsetzen.
experiences
daher,
and also
würde ich
implement
da auch
autonomous
noch
driving. So
zwei Sachen
yes,
auch mit drin sehen. Also wir
I would
sehen
see
uns auch
two
als jemand,
things.
der
We
versucht, hier den Standort
think we
Deutschland
are
oder auch den Standort
a
Europa
company
an der Stelle wirklich richtig mehr
that
auch,
brings
in Richtung Digitalisierung
Germany as an
aufzubauen
economic location
und,
or
ganz
Europe as
klar
an
gehören
economic
da auch,
location forward.
Kooperationen
And
dazu,
of course, this
das Ganze
also
auch
requires
tatsächlich umsetzen zu können.
cooperations and collaborations to
Und Sie
implement
brauchen
all that.
tausende Software,
And you need
Ingenieure und
thousands of software engineers and programmers. Where do you get them?
Ja, das
That's
ist
not
natürlich
easy.
eine große
Yes,
Herausforderung.
this is a big challenge, of course.
Nichtsdestotrotz, wir
But
haben schon
nevertheless,
sehr viele Personen akquirieren können.
We have hired many people. We have many employees, and we have a big size for a startup, I would say. So it's a combination of bundling the competences in the group of IT talents that we hire from the market, but also other acquisitions, so that we prove that we are serious about that. So our target is to get around 10,000 employees. Yes, this is the final target. And we want to produce a lot of the software in-house. That's right, to show, yes, we take that seriously here in Germany and Europe. And what you build is then suitable for all the 12 brands, so you have quite powerful on the market. So let's imagine a smaller car manufacturer also want to use your software stack. Do you sell it? Well, so far we focus on the company brands, but of course, as a future, we might also get in touch with other OEMs. So now, some years ago, every OEM wanted to be a mobility provider. In 2017, so many cars were produced, more than ever before. Now they thought we can do everything. Now, the latest studies, and we'll come back to that, latest studies say, actually, most people want to have their own car, want to own their own car. So a mobility provider, is that the right way to go for a car manufacturer? Well, I also like to own my own car. It's different if you live in Los Angeles or here. In Los Angeles, you don't need a car. There's Uber everywhere. What's bad is that they do not have a good public transport system. We could improve that. You're absolutely right. The integration, that's key. And if you live in rural areas, you need a car, and often people living in the cities, they also own a car, and it stands in the garage all the time. So this mobility has to change. But here to have one app, and you can use this one app to get from A to B, and this can also include the own car. This should be the solution. So during the pandemic, we said there are no scooters on the road anymore, and they all prefer to have their own car and sit in their own car without the face mask. I think this will change very soon. Even Deutsche Bahn hasn't been financed to make a loss over years to build up such a platform. Would IT investors, venture investors, invest in Deutsche Bahn to enable that? Or shouldn't it be more than that? So that Deutsche Bahn says, we build this platform, we commit to use this platform. Whatever Deutsche Bahn is doing in the future, it runs on this platform. And then I would invest. I would absolutely invest in this company, because then I believe that this is a regional champion that is created for Europe. You need to focus on that even more. And this is what the Americans do. And there is so much money involved. And the money is there. And here, there's hardly any money available for that, for startups. And companies cannot finance that, what we need to do. So if you buy some shares, then please tell me. Yes, I will do that. Shares for the company that still needs to be established, but that is a force on the market then. I really like that, this culture of banning cars from the inner cities, but that there's no alternative. So now a pragmatic approach to that. There are no alternatives. Yes. There are different forms of mobility, and for every convenience level and luxury level, you need offers, and this is not well structured in a reasonable way, and often you find mobility where it's not needed. I visited Oslo 2 years ago, and they said, no, we don't want a car-free city, but a city for the citizens, and this is a completely different approach. And the mayor said, yes, that at the beginning, they were afraid of surviving the next elections. because there were a lot of protests as well. But after 6 months, the public opinion completely changed. People really like that. It's not a big area in the city, like 8, 9 square kilometers. And
gehen nicht in das Geschäft unseres als OEM, berühren die gar nicht.
They do not touch upon our OEM business. But now the city is much more worth living in. Also, all the logistics traffic was banned from the city because we said 5 parcel services cannot be as efficient as just one. And this is what they did. And like this, the emission levels and the traffic density was decreased significantly, and the quality of life was increased considerably. But I don't think that we sold 1 car less just because of that. So this is the mix that we need. So you need to orchestrate that on a political level in a reasonable way. So I hope I see some more questions on the screens from the audience, because then we can talk about that as well.
Wenn ich das mal so sagen darf.
Maybe I can come back to what Mr. Wieler just said, and that we also discussed about person transports, but we also need to organize logistics in the cities. And with this platform, we also need to organize the logistics traffic. So this also needs to be integrated in this new platform that will be established, or that has to be established. And the pressure is high because we need to define the starting position, because there's things that need to be developed, that needs the time to develop it and to raise the acceptance. And if we forget logistics, then the solution forgets half of the essential things. And yes, to bring these two things together, this is key. I see the audience questions. Thank you for raising questions. I take the one with the most likes. That is interesting, seemingly. I don't know who can answer that. Does people want to get back mobility, or are the offices just built at the wrong places?
Frau Niedbahn, können Sie dazu etwas Kluges beitragen?
Maybe you can tell us more about that. Yes, absolutely. We saw that mobility and working are closely connected, and there are intense discussions that we have for months now. How many offices do we need, and how much working from home should we offer? There will be a trend, I think, that some say, okay, I moved to more rural areas, and if I have to go to office, then the distance is longer, but I don't go to office so frequently. And the question is, are there options for decentralized locations and to kind of install like hubs where employers collaborate? We also think about that. We also opened up a co-working at the main station of Berlin, so in the city center. But to connect working and mobility more is key to also changing mobility behavior. So to have kind of an offensive offer that does not stop with the mobility. It also needs to include the working world. And with regard to the operating system, the focus is only on individual traffic, but goods traffic amounts to more than 50%. What's the role of the operating system, also considering the fact that more goods should be transported by rail? That's a great starting point, I think. This is also something that Ms. Nikuta and the complete DB Cargo made very clear during the pandemic, more goods to be transported by rail. This needs to happen in the next years. But then in the inner cities, we need to ensure also to distribute the goods. We need concepts for that. But in the cities, these are not so established, decentralized micro hubs. So to distribute goods on the last mile. We can do more about that, but we need the political will as well to implement that.
Vielleicht machen wir eine schnelle Abschluss.
So maybe some quick final words, because there's not much time left. So please give quick answers.
Banale Frage, wenn Sie sich was wünschen dürfen.
Banal question.
Sachen Mobilität.
One wish with regard to mobility. A wish that will come true within 3 years. So can you formulate one wish that works within 3 years? Finally, what would be your wish, Ms. Schönauer? Maybe you can start.
Dürfen Sie sich was wünschen?
Ja.
What's your wish?
Ja, wenn ich mir was wünschen kann, dann ist es natürlich,
I had a wish,
dass
then
Level 4 dann auch
that
erreicht,
we really reach level 4.
dass wir unseren einheitlichen Software-Stack auch entsprechend
that our standardized software stack has been implemented successfully. Level 4 is possible within 3 years.
Sie haben ja auch nach Wünschen gefragt.
You asked for a wish.
Richtig.
Yes,
Herr
you're
Golewski,
right.
dürfen Sie sich auch was wünschen?
Mr. Golewski, what's your wish?
Also für mich wäre schon mal wichtig, dass wir
For me, it would be important not only to have the passenger car perspective when we talk about autonomous driving, but that we also consider logistics, public transport, because when we talk about autonomous driving, we focus too much on passenger cars. There are many other options as well. Mr. Neumann, for the big topics, I would wish to have technology leaders in Europe that we attract worldwide capital to invest in these companies to be successful. And I wish that our offer offensive work in long distance and short distance traffic, that growth can happen and that we offer great offers to the people in Germany. Mr. Wieland,
Europäische Mobility ID-Plattform basiert.
A European Mobility ID platform based.
Wir haben nämlich überzogen. Vielen Dank.
Great answer, thank you. We are already running late. Thank you very much to all the panel participants.
Gleich weiter. Bleiben Sie dran.
To Kai Thomas Neumann, Karima Schönauer, Thorsten Golewski, and Maike Niedball. And stay healthy. Thank you very much.